Welcome in. Wednesday live chat, ZOZO Championship. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing on the technical side. I absolutely know that because this hour is yours. Whatever you want to do, questions, comments, concerns, throw them in the chat right now. We will rock and roll through as many as possible. And I will remind you once again that this golf tournament starts in about 7.5 hours. If you are watching live, you've got about 7.5 hours. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, is the first tee time in Tokyo. So get everything taken care of. Do not wait until Thursday morning to get everything lined up. We are officially rocking and rolling right now. Good to be back. I feel like I've been sprinting for the last couple of weeks with Italy and then coming right back to the Shriners and just like, whew, let's go. So Matt asks a question that I think is valuable for everybody. He says, thanks for everything. Why is the projected ownership different on the classic views and the global views? He's referring to my website, rickrungood.com. He's referring to the cheat sheet. What he was seeing earlier is when you clicked on classic and clicked to global, the projected ownerships were different. Matt caught me in the midst of an update. So just kind of functionally how this works. When I push an update, a lot of data is going into the website, as you can imagine, millions and millions and millions and millions of rows of data. And it does not instantaneously update. It takes about 30 minutes for it to flow through. So if you catch me in the middle, sometimes you'll see a couple discrepancies. One of the ways to make sure that you have the most up-to-date version is wait a couple minutes, or if you change anything, like if I change the last 36 rounds to 35 rounds, it will jar the system into showing you the most up-to-date. It's, again, you have to have like a 20-minute period in which you catch me in the middle, but I wanted to let everybody know that is one way to do it, and everything has obviously now flown through. Just a lot of data there. So Matt is here. How much stock are you putting in the first start narrative? Decky and Keegan both won after playing a fall event, leaning towards fading the top in terms of outrights and betting guys who have played. Yeah, I'm not sure it's so much of a narrative as much as I think there is a real thing there. I ran the numbers. I don't have the up-to-date numbers, but I did run them a couple of months ago, and it is less likely for a golfer to play above their baseline in their first start after an extended break. Now, you can call that break 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I forget what I did, but it is harder to do that. You usually see guys that play over their baseline start to, 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row, or have played recently. So I don't think it's a narrative. I do think there is something to it just to get the competitive juices flowing and all that fun stuff. Can you do a deep dive on Vincent Norrman and Nakajima? That's Kita Nakajima. Yeah. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of questions around some of the guys who are on the Japanese exemptions. Remember, this is a 78 golfer field. It is filled with, I think, the top 8 from the JGT, the Japan Golf Tour, and then ZOZO gets 9 sponsors exemptions. So 17 golfers that you might not have heard of. Some obviously you have, but we can dive into the ones that I think will make the most noise. Here is Vincent Norrman. Long term, I'm a big buyer of Vincent Norrman, right? I mean, he is a modern golfer, raw, getting better each and every week. He reminds me a lot of Cam Davis. And I think he might be better now, raw, than Cam Davis was when he was raw. And already with a win at the Barbasol and a win at the Irish Open under his belt. The stat profile, which is admittedly weaker than other events, just because there's only been 3 years at Golf Narashino. Additionally, those 3 years are not even 3 back-to-back years, right? It was, I think it was 19, 21, and 22 were the years that we've played this golf course. Don't quote me on that. It might be, no, I think that's right. So it's not the greatest data, small sample size and spread out, but it loves bombers. It absolutely loves bombers. It loves guys who can play around the green. Norman doesn't really have the short game. He's an okay putter. He's a below average around the green player, but he's one of the longer hitters on tour. Ton of club head speed. The ball striking's been there. Generally quite positive. I think this is going to be a tough field for him, but generally quite positive. And then Kita Nakajima, I'm probably going to have to pull the OWGR stuff here because of the 6 tours that I track on rickrungood.com, the Japanese Golf Tour, the Japan Golf Tour is not one of them. Maybe I should add it. So here is Nakajima's profile here. So let's look at this since the Open Championship where he missed the cut. He went 5th, 1st, 35th, 4th, 3rd, 8th, missed cut, and then T10 at the Japan Golf Open Championship. That event was last week. So this is probably, and don't quote me on this, but I assume the strength of field for last week's Japan Open Golf Championship, 38. That is probably the strongest field that they've gotten all year. Well, I thought it would be a lot. I thought it would blow out some of these other events because you get a lot of guys that come over and play this before the ZOZO. Like Adam Scott played this event, missed the cut. Sean Norris played this event, right? So you get a little bit of a injection of some guys who might want to go over and play a little bit of golf beforehand. But he's been very, very good. He has played this event twice, 28th and 12th. I think if you're trying to buy shares of Nakajima, you could be doing much, much worse than that. How many golfers do you think actually have a chance to win this week? The 4 in the 10K range, the 6 in the 9K range, and I will stop there. 10. There are guys below that I really like. Okay, wait, those guys and Cam Champ, 7,100, just because he is so volatile, has the winning upside. So let's call it 12. There might be a couple that I'm missing, 14, 15, something like that. What you see in no-cut events in small fields, cream rises to the top. You're guaranteed 4 rounds. 4 rounds is better than 2 rounds for Colin Morikawa. 100 rounds is better than 4 rounds, et cetera, et cetera. Those guys rise to the top. It is a pretty stark drop-off, I believe, when you get past like Eric Cole or even Sahith to the rest of this field. And what we've already seen from this FedEx Cup fall is that the class golfers are finding ways to get to the top of the board. Hey, Rick, if we were high on Højgaard last week, would this be an even better spot for him given the course setup, or does not having course history here hurt a little bit? So what I have found a lot in my time going to these events and talking with guys and seeing course history and following the data, it's becoming less and less important to have played in a golf course, unless it's Augusta National, right? Where there's a lot of nuance or it's hard to get on in advance. The data, the course guys that break it, like it is so easy to prepare for a golf course now. Then you throw in the practice rounds. I think that it is a lot easier to get this stuff underway. So I agree with you that if you liked a guy last week, you should probably still like him again this week, right? There is really no reason to jump off of Nicolai Højgaard. He was brutal at TPC Summerlin. He lost 7.5 strokes ball striking, probably the worst of his career. That is probably not going to happen again. You now still have a big time birdie maker on a golf course where, you know, if he can use his driver and his ball striking as a weapon, that's fine. And nobody wants to touch this guy. If he goes out and loses another 5 strokes ball striking, we have something to worry about. I just think that appears to be the outlier compared to everything else. You know, if you look at the last 36 rounds for everybody in this field across all tours, Nicolai Højgaard's the 8th best player in this field. He's $8,700. And now if you throw out some of the Asian Tour stuff, you throw out some of the Korn Ferry stuff, he might jump up higher than that, right? So he's been phenomenal, and that includes a really bad week last week in Las Vegas. Hey, Rick, wondering your thoughts on starting in the 9K range and staying out of the 6K range. I don't mind it whatsoever, right? So I have bet Colin Morikawa. We'll get to that in a second. Xander's great. Sungjae, awesome. Ricky, whatever. But you could make a case that, like, wow, you know, Xander, Colin, Ricky haven't played all that recently. You know, if they just finish, like, yeah, are they going to finish inside the top 10? Probably. Are they going to win? That's not a super lock. Sungjae did play on the KPGA last week. He lost in a playoff, so he finished second. Sungjae is a winner. He's not a prolific winner like some of these other guys might be. But then the 9K range is stocked, right? Hideki, winner and runner-up here, best strokes gained at Narashino of anybody in this field. Cam Davis is a top 10 machine. His game is coming into form. Adam Scott popped in every single model that I ran. Keegan is your defending champion. Minwoo won last week and keeps getting better. And then Sahith is fresh off a victory at the Fortinet, finished fifth here last year. And this should be a golf course that sets up well for him. There is not really a negative in that 9K range like there are in the 10K ranges. So I do not mind that one single bit. Any first round leaders look good to you, and any way to see see from your model on rickrungood.com. So when this question gets asked, there's two ways that I generally do this. I usually go to the power rankings. I go to strokes gain distribution. I go to like the last 50 rounds and I jump up the minimums a little bit, and I look for golfers and how frequently they are going to gain 4 or 5 strokes to the field. Minwoo Lee gains 5 or more strokes to the field 14% of the time. It's a pretty outrageous number. Keegan at 12, along with Xander Schauffele. Then you get Davis Riley, right? So Davis Riley, this is why this is such a great tool. Davis Riley has the upside, the ceiling of Adam Scott, Eric Cole, close to Xander Schauffele, yet his floor is Harry Hall's floor. Right. He is one of the worst guys who in gaining strokes, but when he does, he gains a ton. So that is like the epitome of a showdown play, the epitome of a first round leader or something like that, because you're getting super high upside, super low floor. You don't really care if he goes out and gains 2 strokes to the field. You need him to gain like 6 or 7. So that would be something that I would look at. If you want to see the way guys are trending, you know, you can look at the rolling numbers here where you can put in any number of rounds that you want and kind of see the way that guys are trending, like Eric Cole, actually kind of going a bit in the wrong direction. Nikolai Højgaard going a bit in the wrong direction. Guys that are going well, like, and this is strokes gain total, by the way. Vincent Norman going in the right direction, right? Adam Scott has been kind of stuck in that top 8 for a while. So a lot of really cool ways to look at this and see what's going on. So Hawks Boy asks about my outright card. And again, do not bet what I bet. Go bet what works for you. Here is what I've done. I've made 3 outright bets. I bet Colin at 12-1. I bet Keegan at 22, and I bet Adam Scott at 25-1. Reasons for those. One, every model that I ran, Adam Scott's name was top of the list. I do like, even though he missed the cut last week, I like that he has been in Japan and he has been acclimating to time zones and all that stuff. Keegan, I think, has a lot going for him. I think he has, one, the fact that he's a defending champion. He plays well here. He has improved his putting significantly. And even if you want to throw in any narrative, you get the snub narrative from the Ryder Cup. And then Colin Morikawa, you know, I put this in my email newsletter for this week. And if you're not subscribed, why not? It's absolutely 100% free. I just put together a bunch of golf data information and send it out to your inbox. And what I did this week is I tried to trick you guys, and I put, you know, the stat lines of 2 different golfers in here, golfer A and golfer B, and they are nearly identical. Golfer A is slightly better off the tee and slightly better with the putter. Golfer B is slightly better on approach and slightly better around the green. In total, they are very, very close to one another, gaining over a stroke per round over significant sample sizes. And when I asked you which golfer is better, the majority of you took golfer B, 70%, 19% of you said it's too close to call, and 12% of you said golfer A. Are we picking that up on the mic? Mina is constructing a new desk right now, and it sounds like something just fell over. I wonder if that's coming through on the mic. I hope she's okay over there. But the point being, like, these are 2 very, very good golfers. They're both Colin Morikawa, one of them from the stretch in which he won 6 times, and one of them from the stretch that he has not won in, right? Since his most recent win. So what I'm trying to say is there is nothing tangibly different about this golfer except win luck, which I highly believe is coming back. So that's kind of the reason that I rolled with Colin there. So Colin, Keegan, and Adam Scott. What is a good single entry GPP strategy? Just a few tips if possible. Boy, I guess I could probably go a lot of directions there. Single entry ownership is usually more polarized. The popular guys are usually more popular. And then, I mean, geez, outside of that, a lot of it just depends on your contest size, right? You know, the single entries tend to be smaller contests. You don't have to be as contrarian. You don't have to be as different. You don't have to leave as much money on the table. It's a lot easier to win generally a single entry with a lower score than it would be with a higher score. Hey, Rick, have you ever tried to reverse engineer your model for a previous event? For example, what were the optimal inputs last week for Shriners for the players who perform well? So the short answer to this is yes. The long answer is much longer. So this is kind of what both the key stats and the custom model do step 1, step 2, and we just need to get to step 3. So step 1, the key stats does that, right? Now it does it over a long period of time. It does it over multiple years. It says what skills have had the most success at this golf course. And it looks at every stat that is available and it puts a value on all of them. So that's part 1, close to what you're talking about, but not for just 1 week. And then obviously the custom model would be, okay, you throw those numbers in there. Like what you're probably asking for is what 100 weights could have been applied to get the correct optimal results golfer 1 through 150. As you can imagine, with all those players, with all the scoring, with all the potential stats, it's like millions and millions and millions of calculations to be able to reverse engineer this. So I'm like 70% of the way there. The goal would be where you could go back in the custom model and look at what the best weights were. We could then compare them to the course key stats, double check those. It's on my list. It is very difficult and very time consuming. And honestly, you need a lot of computing power to do it. But yeah, it's on my mind. Thoughts on Neesmith? Cautiously optimistic, right? This is a pretty good stretch for Neesmith. He has played great at TPC Summerlin, which is where he went last week, and he played whatever, gained tee to green, T42. And he's played well here at the ZOZO Championship in Japan. Finished T9 last year, T48 the year before. So this is a good stretch of course history for him. If you look at the stats, they are generally positive. Gained across the board in Jackson, almost gained across the board, but lost with the putter at TPC Summerlin. The putter, which was a huge problem at the end of last year, seems to be getting a little bit better. And we are positive in the ball striking categories. I rate him like a 6 out of 10, right? I don't think he's going to win this golf tournament. I think that he is on the path to getting better, to contending more frequently, and to being the type of golfer that we saw where basically for an entire season, he was a top 20 approach player. That's what I would like. Oh yeah. The tournament starts in 4 hours. Sorry. Not 7.5. I was converting to Eastern time, but looking at my own clock, which is in Pacific time. So DCeep is absolutely right. This tournament starts in 4.5 hours or 4 hours, not 7 hours. Thoughts on Kevin Yu? Okay. So Kevin Yu is generally on brand. For good or for bad, Kevin Yu is on brand. When you run a lot of models that are ball striking based or tee to green based, Kevin Yu is going to smack you in the face with how often he shows up. Which listen, I love to do that. The problem is he has shown one week in which he can find the putter. TPC Deer Run, he gained 7.8 strokes putting and he finished T6. Unfortunately, the path for him to finish inside the top 10 is he has to have like a career putting week. And if he doesn't, he cannot out hit his putter, which is a problem. I mean, he's losing 5, 6 strokes on the putting surfaces. It's really, really bad. So yeah, maybe this is the week that he putts well. I don't think there's going to be any indication of when it's coming. And I would rather see him lose 2 strokes of putting per week than 5 or 6 and just try to play him more frequently like that. This show is going to be stellar, like when Tiger opened with his win at ZOZO with an awful double. Yeah, I think he actually opened up bogey. I made a bogey here. We weren't live. I was chatting, but now we're going to make up for it. Here we go. Justin Lauer, what do we know? Seems like he's been ball striking okay, but the short game issues masking it. A possible popper. Okay, I also want to talk about one other thing on the scorecard here in a second, Zach. So here's not Zach Jeffers. Here is Justin Lauer's stat profile. Gaining 2.5 strokes on approach in 4 of his last 5. Off the tee, he's a loser, but that is... Yeah, he's not very long and he's not very straight. That would be why he's losing there. Short game, whatever, putter, all over the yard. Lost 5 at Summerlin, has gained 7 twice in his last 10 starts, just all over the place. So I'm not super excited about this. One thing that I would look at, This is kind of a really unique layout on the PGA Tour, this golf course. There are 10 par fours. 5 of them I would consider short par fours, driver or 3-wood and wedge. And then 5 of them I would consider long par fours, which would be like, driver, mid iron or long iron, right? There's not a lot of these middle par fours. So as much as I hate the proximity buckets, if you were looking for proximity buckets, guys that are good from like 125 and in or 100 and in, and guys that are good from like 175 and farther would be really interesting. So we could actually, let's just do it. RickRunGood.com, custom model. Let's just do something wild and put in 50% of our weights on, well, actually, hold on. Let's do it like this. So I want 125 and in. So I'm going to put, what's 50 divided by 3? 16, 32, 48. Close enough. Let's do 16 on 50 to 75, 16 on 75 to 150, 16 on 100 to 125. Then let's go 16 on no. I want 25 on 175 to 150 and 25 on 200 to 225. And I should have 2 weights left somewhere. So let's just put 26 and 26. So this is who's good from 125 and good from 175 and out. The number 1 ranked golfer. Oh boy. Colin Morikawa. I've bet him. The other one is a guy that I probably should bet, who I did bet last week, who I'm not ready to give up on, Tom Hoge. This is kind of the Tom Hoge golf course. Wedge fest, long irons. Come on, Tom. Hideki is 3rd, Fowler, Xander, Kurt Kitayama is 6th. Cam Davis is 7. Sungjae is 8. Justin Lauer, this is why I brought this up, Zach. Justin Lauer is 9th. Keegan Bradley is 10th. So just an interesting little nugget about this golf course, about this scorecard. It is fairly unique. This is a very extreme model. It only looks at approach buckets, but I thought that was worth a little bit of a consideration. Low-owned Mitchell or Shank on DK. For me, it's Shank. At least when Shank plays well, he has kind of top 10 upside. And we've been seeing that as of late, right? T9 at the Tour Championship, T6 at FedEx, T4 at Deer Run, 7th runner-up. That was his first start at the Shriners since the Tour Championship. Can we cut him some slack? Well, he missed the cut on the number. He gained strokes from tee to green. I think we can cut him some slack there. Keith Mitchell, on the other hand, and I haven't looked at his profile super recently, but I don't feel optimistic about it. The ball striking has not been good enough. The driver, which is his weapon, has not been good enough. The putter's been all over the place. It's a lot of bad results for Keith and a lot of uncharacteristic results for Keith. So it would be Shank for me. Guy that you are warming on and cooling on. So I'll take that as in terms of ownership. So I was pretty warm on Adam Scott, and I've warmed because he is the lowest owned of the 9K guys. Again, I've ran a lot of models, and Adam Scott pops up quite a bit. So he's somebody that I've definitely warmed on and cooling on Xander, right? He's going to be the highest owned golfer. He's the most expensive golfer. I understand that he's got, great results at this event and in no cut events, but I need to see some dog in him, admittedly. And I'm not necessarily seeing that right now. A little bit further down the board. I didn't like Svensson. I mean, Svensson deserves to be 14% owned. I wish it was a little bit lower than that. He's kind of carrying that range a little bit. Yeah, I think the rest of it's pretty fair. Can we do strokes gained bentgrass? Yeah, we can. So a couple ways to do this. How far back do we want to go? So let's do bentgrass on the Holy Grail. We'll go back 4 years. Strokes gained putting. Find guys with a large enough sample. I don't know what you think large enough is, but Nagano has 10 rounds. That's probably not enough in 4 years. Harry Hall, Justin Suh, Taylor Montgomery, bunch of Vegas guys, but they have pretty small sample sizes as well. Larger sample sizes would be Bo Hostler, half a stroke gain per round in 80 rounds. Alex Noren, half a stroke gain per round in 98. Adam Shank, half in 105. Adam Scott, 0.45 in 78. Mackenzie Hughes, 100 rounds, third of a stroke. So, and then the anti guys, Will Gordon, 36 rounds, losing 2/3 of a stroke per round. Hideki, losing a third of a stroke per round in 112 rounds. Cam Champ, Joel Damon, a couple other guys that have big enough sample size, JJ Small and Matt Neesmith. Those would be like the anti-bentgrass guys. I can only lock 3 into my 99 lineups. Which 3 of these 5? Cam Davis, Minwoo, Noren, SH Kim, Cam Champ. Oof. I think it's... Man, you'd have to be pretty sick. I would like Davis, Minwoo, Cam Champ. That is the risky side of things, Brent. I guess Noren, Minwoo, Davis would probably be a little safer. I would go with Cam Champ. Yeah, here's the conversation, right? Like the reason that I'm interested in Cam Champ, I think is pretty clear. One, we know that he is a legitimate win threat. About once a year, he wins. And when he plays great golf, I mean, his ceiling is just as high as anybody's. He's playing well now. Ninth in Jackson, T18 at the Shriners, and that was with an absolutely horrendous 5.5 strokes gained on that he lost on Saturday. So if you actually look at this and you go find Cam Champ and go round by round, 7 of his last 8 rounds have been great. If you go back even further than that, like 16 rounds, basically 12 of them have been great. He is putting together mostly good weeks. If he just needs to avoid the disaster round, and his history around here is an 8th place finish last year. So I think it's pretty simple to be excited about Cam Champ. Confused by this course's priority on driving distance. Would have thought a greater priority on strokes gain approach. Can the longer hitters cut corners on a number of holes? So what Tyler is referring to is this. And I need to point out a couple of items here. Again, this course key stats tool is simply 3 years that are spread out. And all this is saying is in the years of these events being played, guys that ranked highly in driving distance correlated to the top of the board. It doesn't even mean that they drove it long that week. And it wouldn't mean that if it was strokes gained around the green, for example, right? It wouldn't mean guys played well around the green that week, which to me is a better way to do this, because if you were just doing it based on the results for that week, yeah, the guys that play well win. That's kind of the point. This way looks at their entire season, their skill sets, and finds the types of golfers that have success at each golf course. So this is a very noisy profile. It is not like TPC Deer Run or River Highlands, where we've got a lot of great data for a bunch of years or anything like that. You should take this week with a grain of salt. Approach is always going to be very valuable, obviously, but the model with its flaws for this week loves driving distance. And no cut generally helps the better players. Do you think Fowler can win? Yes. Do I think he will? No. I am admittedly a little worried about Ricky, not just the Ryder Cup stuff, but even before the Ryder Cup. Remember, what was the story from Ricky, right? Resurgence, jailbird. He can't miss a putt. He's got the jailbird now. Starts this trend. I bought one. It's awesome, by the way. Well, I mean, his last 3 weren't very good with the putter. Lost a stroke and a half at TPC Southwind, Olympia Fields, and lost 3.3 at Eastlake. So if he's lost the putter, did he lose the resurgence? Additionally, didn't particularly drive it well down the stretch. Didn't particularly strike it well down the stretch. Look at the profile from the majority of the year versus his last 4 or 5 starts. Completely different. So that's pretty concerning. Then you get kind of the long layoff. He didn't play much at the Ryder Cup. I know he was sick, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tough scene. How reliable are the ownership projections? I find them to be quite reliable. Like Mike Cavalunas manages them for rickrungood.com. He's the man. I think he's the best in the world. We keep our R squared numbers. Like nobody else will tell you what their R squared numbers are. So I think they're as good as anybody's. And always getting better. So I stand by Mike. I'm seeing win may play a factor in the first couple of days of the tournament. Do you think this is do you think it's a big enough factor to make a difference? Only if it's impacting a portion of the field and not another. Remember, because it's only 78 golfers, there are not real wave advantages, right? So you have just all the tee times within, I think it's 2 hours of each other or something like that. So it's not that natural wave that you would normally see. Good afternoon, Rick. Do you know if ZOZO grass is common on Japan Tour Championship courses? And if so, do you think that gives Kanaya, Nakajima, Hitsasun, I don't know how to say that, I got to figure it out, any sort of edge? I do not know if ZOZO is common, but I think in general, so someone emailed me about this as well, and I'll try to explain. Those guys definitely have an edge, right? If they're living there, if they're playing there, if they're familiar with the courses, if they're familiar with, like, they definitely have an edge. But if they're the 50th best player in the field, it is not going to take them from the 50th best player in the field to the first best player in the field. It might take them from 50th to 35th, which is pretty significant in my opinion, but it doesn't automatically mean that Takumi Kanaya is going to win this golf tournament, right? I just think he's super live for a top 15. He definitely has an edge. And if you took this same field and put it not at Narashino or not in Japan, I think he would do worse. That's the way that I do it. Rick, I hate to be the one to ask something non-golf related, but Thursday Night Football, Saints or Jags? Ah, yes. I do know a lot about this game of football. I will say the Jags. Where's it at? I'll take the home team. Jags are good, right? Saints are not. If I'm understanding correctly, jag it up. Let's go. Also, I think I predicted Phillies and Astros in the World Series. Looks good on one side. Doesn't look so good on the other. 2-0 in both directions, I believe. Rick is the best. Thank you. Champ or Dylan Wu? Probably Champ. Rick, does your lineup construction change in smaller fields and no-cut events versus standard fields? If so, what defining factor do you take into account? Generally, I will be more willing to go deep down the board, get down into the depths of the $6,000 range and try to get 2 top-end guys. The theory being, if I can get 2 elite guys who are guaranteed 4 rounds, and I can get some cheapos who are not going to miss the cut and just have them finish 30th, I'm in business. This week is a little bit different because I like the 9K so much, but that's generally the theory that I go. How would you go about building the bottom of your entry in a single, bottom of your lineup in a single entry? Find somebody you think you can trust, right? I think the options in the bottom of this, in the 6K range are usually generally closer to the top of the board. You know, if you want to go with Ryutaro Nagano, who I wrote about, I believe I wrote about him. Let's see. Yeah. So 300th ranked player in the world, which doesn't sound like much, but he's trending. He's been crushing it on the Japan Golf Tour. 4 top 5 finishes and 7 top 20s in his last 9. If you go to the JGT website, which I highly recommend, it's a phenomenal website. 6th in scoring average, 7th in birdie or better, 3rd in driving distance on the Japan Golf Tour. So he's $6,500. I'm comfortable going there. Am I comfortable going with Lauer? Probably, because of those proximity buckets, but I'm not super stoked about it. The other guys in the 6K range, Kita, Nakajima, little warm on Matt Neesmith. That's probably where I'm headed here. But generally finding someone that you trust. I think all things considered, there's not a lot to trust, but Ryutaro Nagano he's like the stat guy, right? Like he's like if I were to just remove everybody's name and said, these are what the profiles look like. This is everything. Like, and I just injected everything I know about every single golfer into my brain. Nagano's line, I think, would be pretty compelling. Great newsletter this week, Rick. Thank you. Were you surprised JT didn't make the trip over considering how successful he's been in Japan? No, I think that he is in the lab. I think that they are trying to figure out what in the hell is going on and how to get back to being Justin Thomas. So no, I think he's in the lab. And he's just got to be ready to go for Hawaii, seemingly is the way I think that they're going to do this. Deep dive on Justin Suh. Sure. So we've talked a lot about Suh recently, but it's kind of similar to last week, which is I'm concerned that a great putter is not putting very well at the moment. Last 3 events, he's basically been slightly below average, which is not good for a guy who routinely gains 2, 3, 4, 5 strokes putting. I do like the ball striking improvements, but at a golf course that he knows very well, TPC Summerlin, to not get the ball striking gains, to not get the putter, to have a short turnaround and go to a place that you've never played is concerning to me. So I hope I'm wrong. I love Justin Suh's a great guy. I hope he plays well. I think this is enough of yellow flags to just get Justin Suh back in America, get him back in, trending in the right direction and go back to him. Then I think it's a little forceful to be interested in him here. Similar to Hayden Buckley, I would buy Hayden Buckley long-term stock. I think he does some really, really elite things, but he has not been good since the injury, right? I mean, he hemorrhages around the greens. He is not the dominant driver of the ball that he was for basically a full year. The ball striking is completely gone. I'm hopeful that he's getting healthy again. I need to see something. I don't know if it's lingering. I don't know if the injury made him change some stuff, whatever. This is a very, very bad stat profile. I don't really care that he finished 5th here last year if he's not fit. So we're going to keep a close eye on Hayden Buckley. Keep the questions about him coming for the next year because we're going to keep a close eye on him. I love the skill set. The injury really, really bonkers. Raya, somebody told me how to pronounce his name. I gotta find the comment that someone told me how to pronounce his name. Because I used to know it and then I've butchered this. So I'm gonna fix it right now. Let's see what we have here. YouTube Studio. Someone left me a comment that told me how to pronounce this. Sa Su, I believe. If you can pronounce Spanish, break the Spanish word name into syllables and use the Spanish pronunciation of vowels. Interesting. Hisasu. Ryo Hisasu. I'm going with that. Hisasu. Okay. So I've talked about him a lot. The good things to like here. He just won on the Euro Tour. He won the French Open. Now that was a couple of weeks ago. He did play, I believe he played the Japan Golf Open last week and missed the cut. If he didn't miss the cut, he didn't play well. T45. He finished T45 last week. He is at least, so there's kind of 2 sets of guys to consider. The guys that are kind of exclusive to the Japanese tour. Ryo's different than that. He's basically exclusive to the DP World Tour, which is obviously a much better competition. It also includes the 2 co-sanctioned events on the PGA Tour, Barbasol and Barracuda, in which he made the cut in both, finished T10 to Barracuda. Couple of top 15s on the European Tour outside of that. This is a really, really good stat profile. I think that he should be strongly considered at his price point, and I think that he has a real good chance to be a top 2 or 3 scoring Japanese player. Hideki's obviously there, but it's a big difference between residing on the JGT and residing on the DP World Tour. Do you think Cam Davis can win? Yes. Do you think Adam Scott can win? Yes. Your thoughts on Akshay? I have a lot of thoughts on Akshay. I'm not sure they're any good, but I do have a lot of thoughts on Akshay. I find him, he and who else? Who else do I always get wrong? Somebody else. I find him very difficult to figure out. You look at the stat profile and you say, okay, he's pretty good on the long buckets. He's pretty good on the medium buckets. He's very bad on the short buckets, which is about half the par fours. He is long enough. He is accurate enough. He drives it really well. Is he going to make enough birdies? Yes. Is he going to avoid enough bogeys? I don't know about that. For every pro, there is a con. He doesn't putt well. He has not struck it well on the second shot since the win. I would take a pass on Akshay, but I'd buy the next 10 years of his career. All right. We have, oh, okay. So we're getting a couple of, we're kind of at the point now where we've duplicating a lot of these questions, or I've talked about a lot of these guys. Here it is. Sugi style. He sent me the pronunciation. Longtime fan and listener, happy to help with you with Japanese pronunciation. Reach out if you're interested. 5-minute tutorial should do it. Love that. Love that. I will take down your information because I obviously want to pronounce everybody's name right. I try to do my best, and I definitely need a lesson. Is there a splash tier contest this week? I'm sorry. No. First off, I won last week, which is amazing. Second of all, I just forgot to do it this week. We were on the road on Monday. It's been, and the short turnaround, by the time I remembered, I didn't think it was worth it for like the Wednesday afternoon start. It's on me. I need to do a better job of getting those made every single week. That's on me. I apologize. Try to get back at it next time. I do my own course mapping for myself on Google Earth, similar to you. Any tips or tricks, any ways to turn it into a side hustle? Okay. Boy. Yeah. I mean, listen, there's like, Google Maps or Google Earth, both of them are really, really good, but like, I wish it was easier to like instantly create lines and save it. What I have been doing is I've been taking, I just did it. I could probably share this with you guys. Yeah, I think I can share this. So what I've been doing is Wyatt Worthington, who I work with and is a buddy of mine, is playing Billy Horschel's APGA event this week, and it's at the concession. So what I did for him is I took the shot link data from, how can I get this on here? Here we go. From that WGC event a couple of years ago, I took the shot link data, ran the numbers, and then took the screenshots and put them on my iPad, Jaron, and I put them, and then I started marking it up. So like I could cross things out, I could write over it, I could annotate it, I could say, hey, this back here is not bad, this is a place you can't miss, et cetera, et cetera. But being able to do that with my app, what's it called? Apple Pencil or whatever, was way better in some scenarios. But Google Earth is good for measuring and all that fun stuff. If you want to try to monetize it, I have had people like at the club that I play at, like they're like, hey, like if you made us like a yardage book that was done on, like, we'd pay for it. Now trying to do that for a bunch of different golf courses is probably not scalable. I do think there's a market. So, I mean, I'm just ranting now, but I do think that there's a market for, okay. So where we're at in like golf data or even sports data, like just be the absolute best at something, right? I've said this a lot, be the absolute best at something. If there was a guy or gal or computer or whatever that would share all the Google Earth course mappings to guys like me, to subscribers of the website, like people would pay for that, right? If there was a newsletter that sent out every single week, $10 a month or whatever, hey, here are all the mappings. Here are good, here are bad. These are the types of golfers. Hey, you can cut this corner if you drive at 305, et cetera, et cetera. There's a market for that, but you've got to be the best at it. You'll be the only person doing it, but you've got to be the best at it. And if you provided it every week and it was good, people would subscribe to that. If you want to do it, and you actually are serious about it, send me an email. We'll put it on rickrungood.com, right? I'll pay you and we'll, but like, I just don't have the time to do every single golf course every single week. Sometimes I pull the shot link. Sometimes I do it if I have a player in there, but it would help me. And also we could probably sell it. Okay. Can we see all the Japan golfers in this field and who has the most success here at the ZOZO? Well, yeah, you'll have to kind of go through the field, but if you want to see the best players, the most success at this event, just go to the Holy Grail, go to Accordia Golf Narashino, sort by strokes gained total, and make sure that you get all the other filters out of here. Hold on. Reset everything. There we go. Hideki's number one out of everybody. I'm just looking at other. I'm just going to scroll through and try to find Japanese golfers. Kita Nakajima, 8 rounds, stroke gain per round. Takumi Kanaya, half a stroke per round, 8 rounds. Ryo Hiha. Oh, crap. Sorry, Shugo. I forget. 8 rounds, a third of a stroke. Ryutaro Nagano, even in 4. Satoshi Kodaira, 12 rounds, even. Ryo Ishikawa, 4 rounds, losing a third of a stroke or 2/3 of a stroke. I'll get there. I'll figure it out, bud. I'll do it. All right. We are at the end of the questions. Thoughts on Gary Kigo? No. Favorite player in the field to win? Colin. With Xander's ownership, would you drop him and go to 3 9K guys instead of 1 9 and 1 8? Yes. All right, here we go. Rapid fire. Anything you want, golf related or not, business related, Seinfeld, television, music. I don't care. Rapid fire right now for a couple minutes because we're out of questions. And then I'm going to go eat lunch and I'm going to have a great day. And we're going to start watching golf here shortly. So anything you want. While you people are firing away, I will remind you that my email newsletter is something that I really have over the last year really enjoyed doing. And I love it. And it's just fun to get thoughts down on paper and throw golf stats and information and send it out. And it's been very well received. If you have not signed up for it, go sign up, rickrungood.com/newsletter. It's 100% free. So go and check it out. Sign up for rickrungood.com, giant database for golf betting and fantasy, all the tools that you can imagine and always getting better. Those are the plugs that I have, I think. Drake's album, trash? No idea. I don't listen to music. Armina, is Drake's album trash? It's not trash, but it's what? Not as good as his old stuff. There you go. Who's your favorite band? Band? No. I do like Jay-Z, but I don't listen to a lot of music. Is a Scott favorite player out of the 10K range? Colin. Is a Scott going to win? Yes, probably Adam. Have you met the best sharp bettors in the Las Vegas Strip? And if so, what was the experience like? I've met a lot of guys that think they are. I've met guys that I believe are, and they are unique fellas. I think it takes a unique person, obviously, to be a professional gambler, to be floating around and trying to get the right number. There's just a lot that goes into it. Go read the Billy Walters. Actually, you don't have to read it, but I mean, he kind of describes a lot of it's a very, very in-depth thing. So I know a couple of those guys and yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm in a one and done. I have Minwoo locked. Should I swap Xander or Morikawa? I'm in the money right now. Is it go for the whole year? If it goes for the entire, into 2024, play Minwoo now. Save Xander and Morikawa. I straight up think Minwoo is going to finish top 5 or top 3, maybe. If someone was to do the cheat sheets for other tours early in the week, if someone was to do the cheat sheets for other tours early in the week, yes, I work in Australia. Okay, like, I don't know what Cameron's getting at here, but like, I agree that I get emails every single day of like, how can I get into what you do? And the answer is pretty simply do something different and do it great. Be earlier than everybody else. Do cheat sheets for the Japan Golf Tour and for like there's a million ways to do it. But everybody wants to do a Monday DFS preview, a Wednesday live chat. Like, it's just be something different, right? And do one thing very, 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 very good. And everyone will give you their money, myself included, right? I'm a sicko. I love this. I will pay for services. Others will as well. That's the whole point of rickrungood.com. I make everything for me and hope that other people like it, and they do. Just go do something you're a sicko at and be the best at it. I really enjoyed the $200 promo you did for last season. I know you said you'll never do it again, but is there any way you're going to do for the folks that have been supporting for a while? I'll probably do it again. It is a massive headache. It is logistically time consuming. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what I've done for the last couple of years is the last tournament of the season, which will be the RSM Classic. I do the only promotion of the year for rickrungood.com, and you have to bet me for it. So you sign up for a year, and if the whatever the winning score is the percentage that you get back. So you've got to sign up before the tournament starts. If it goes 30 under par, I send you 30% back. If it's 10 under, I send you 10% back. If it's 2 over, you send me 2 more percent. No, I'm just kidding. But it's usually like 18 to 22 under. I think every year I've done it is like 18 to 22 under. I will probably do it again. Mina's essential in it. She does all the manual refunds and transactions, and it's a nightmare to keep track of, but we'll probably do it again for the RSM Classic. You can be a current existing user. You can be a new user. Everybody gets the same deal, and it's the only deal I ever run. I don't do promo codes. I don't do sales. I don't do discounts. One chance, and you got to bet me for it. What golf content do you consume? Nothing else in like the fantasy betting space. I like the Bob Does Sports guys. I've met them a couple times. They're great. They're great guys. I like that. I watch a lot of people playing golf on the course on YouTube. Like there's a guy, Not a Scratch Golfer, who does these short. He plays 18 holes. It's like 13 minutes long. Talks about his process. I watch a lot of that. Yeah, that's kind of the stuff that I'm into. Favorite place to golf in Texas? I have not played a ton of golf in Texas. I'm trying to think. I did play TPC San Antonio. That's probably the last time I played in Texas. I think I played the Oaks course. That was nice, but I have not played a lot of golf in Texas. Rick, you're so busy now. You might need to hire another personal assistant. Who's my first one? Hopefully it's not Mina. She's like my producer, my manager, the accountant, she's like literally this channel and this business could not run without her. Best shot you ever took in your life, other than pulling your wife, of course. There's a shot that I think about all the time from like 10 years ago where I hit a 4-iron out of a fairway bunker in, I think I was in South Carolina, and I absolutely flushed it to like 2 feet. And I've just never felt a shot that good. Admittedly, I have started to take lessons this year. I hit a lot more good shots. I should have gotten lessons earlier. I now have a lot of good feels, and I'm really, really happy about it. Is Hideki worth the injury risk? I think that it would be something really drastic for him to withdraw from his home event. So I think he's worth it. Hey, Rick, feel free to skip it too personal, but Armina's name and look had me thinking if she is of Armenian descent. I love Armenia. My wife and I adopted our son from Yerevan. I think I'm saying that right. 4 years ago. She is Persian. So that is from Iran. She's of Persian descent. But yes, that is a common question about her name, Armina. We test drove calling her just Mina for a while and introducing her as Mina because I think people in America understand that better, remember it better. I was like, it's cute. Come on, let's do Mina. But whatever. Rick, what's the weather forecast? This is from Patrick Rogers. Bud, aren't you in the field? Or like you have better access to weather than I do? Are you jumping on the Detroit Lions bandwagon? No. I honestly do not care about football, but I definitely do not care about the Detroit Lions. I've gotten, living on the West Coast, sports are harder and harder to follow, less interesting to follow. The older I've gotten, the less I've cared. Golf truly takes up the vast majority of my time. I will put Red Zone on Sundays and I will casually follow it, but I don't care as much. Were you a big Allen Iverson fan? Huge AI fan. I had the answers. We all had them. He was the guy. I must have been, I was like 12 or 13 when they went to the finals. And I just can still vividly remember game one, them winning in overtime. I was thinking they were going to win AI carried that. Was such a good Philadelphia athlete because he obviously wasn't perfect, right? I mean, he was like arrested on gun charges. Listen, the guy, he did the whole practice, right? Like he's not like the world's best role model, but he was so Philadelphia in he's not maybe the greatest, but he's our guy. And on the court, he was very, very popular. And still is in Philadelphia, obviously. Favorite most influential baseball player growing up for me was probably David Eckstein because he got the most out of the least, which is a lot what I did. Just get on base, choke up, get the most out of it. That was probably one. Scott Rowland for a while. Scott Rowland was my favorite player for a while, but Eckstein was probably like closer to the way that I play. So he was pretty cool. All right. That was fun. Enjoyed that stretch at the end. Wishing you all the best of luck this week. We've got a tournament that starts here in a couple of hours. Get your lineups in. Have a blast. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for everything.